The year is 2035 and the world is absolutely cooked. Like genuinely doomed. 15 years ago, these giant cracks in reality called gates started appearing everywhere, and out of them came monsters straight from nightmares. Goblins, ogres, dragons. The whole fantasy package, except nobody was happy about it because these things wanted to eat people. But humanity wasn't completely helpless. Some people awakened powers and became hunters. These guys could fight back. They got skills, stats, the whole RPG treatment. And at the top of the food chain were the S-rank hunters. Literal superhumans who could punch through buildings and shoot lightning from their hands. Our main character Kaijin was not one of these people. Not even close. He was a D-rank porter. Basically a walking backpack for actual hunters. His job was carrying their loot while they did all the cool stuff. He had 0 skills, 0 talent, and 0 respect from anyone. Other hunters would literally use him as bait to distract monsters while they escaped. That kind of trash treatment. And the worst part? He accepted it. Because in this world, if you weren't strong, you were nothing. Just another body waiting to get deleted by some random gate monster. So there's Kaijin on what would be his last day alive, walking through the ruined streets of Neo Seoul carrying camera equipment for a news crew. They were filming some propaganda piece about humanity's greatest hero, the S-rank hunter known as Lionheart. This guy was literally on cereal boxes. Golden armor, perfect smile, the symbol of hope. Everyone loved him. The news crew treated Kaijin like dirt, obviously. Didn't even learn his name. Just kept shouting at him to move faster and carry more stuff. But Kaijin needed the money, so he just swallowed his pride and kept walking. Then everything went wrong. The crew was filming near an A-rank gate that was supposedly cleared when suddenly Kaijin heard voices. He ducked behind some rubble because he recognized one of them. It was Lionheart. But the hero wasn't supposed to be here. This area was off limits. Kaijin peeked around the corner and his blood went cold. Lionheart was talking to something that definitely wasn't human. It had too many arms and its face kept shifting like reality couldn't decide what shape it should be. A demon. An actual high-level demon from the deepest gates. And they weren't fighting. They were making a deal. Kaijin's hands were shaking, but somehow he remembered he was still holding the camera. The expensive one the news crew brought for close-ups. Without thinking, he hit record. His brain was screaming at him to run, but his hands wouldn't stop filming. The demon was offering Lionheart power. Some kind of artifact that would make him even stronger. And in exchange, Lionheart just had to let certain gates stay open. Let certain cities fall. Sacrifice millions of people. And this hero, this symbol of hope, this guy on the cereal boxes, said yes without even hesitating. Kaijin must have made a sound because Lionheart's head snapped toward his hiding spot. Those famous heroic eyes turned cold and empty. In 1 second, Lionheart crossed 50 meters and grabbed Kaijin by the throat. Kaijin tried to explain, tried to beg, but Lionheart wasn't interested. He just smiled that perfect hero smile and said that witnesses were inconvenient. Then he squeezed. Kaijin felt his neck snap. But even as he was dying, even as his vision went dark, his blood was pouring all over that camera. It soaked into the lens, into the circuits, and something inside that camera woke up. The last thing Kaijin saw was a notification that burned itself into his dying brain. Words written in gold and crimson that said he had bonded with a mythic-grade item. The Eye of the Watcher God. The camera that had filmed Ragnarok itself. Then everything went black. For exactly 3 seconds. Because suddenly Kaijin could breathe again. His neck didn't hurt. He was sitting down. And someone was shouting at him. He opened his eyes and almost had a heart attack. He was in a classroom. Not just any classroom. The Hunter Academy entrance exam hall. The desks, the nervous students, the board proctors, he knew this place. He had been here before. 10 years ago. Kaijin looked down at his hands. They were younger. Smoother. No scars from gate expeditions. He pulled out his phone with shaking fingers and checked the date. March 15th, 2025. The exact day he had taken the Hunter Academy entrance exam in his previous life. The exam he had barely passed. The beginning of his trash-tier existence. But that meant everything that happened, the betrayal, Lionheart's deal, his death, all of that was 10 years in the future. It hadn't happened yet. He had regressed. Kaijin's mind was racing. This was insane. This was impossible. But the proof was right there. He was 17 again. Back in his old body. Back before everything went wrong. And then he felt something in his pocket. Something that definitely wasn't there before. He pulled it out and his heart stopped. It was a camera. Small, compact, but he recognized the lens. The same lens that had drunk his blood. Except now it looked different. The metal had veins of gold running through it and the lens itself seemed to shimmer with purple light. The moment he touched it, a voice exploded in his head. Not his voice. Multiple voices. Loud. Ancient, speaking languages he shouldn't understand but somehow did. The gods were talking. And they were watching him. A translucent blue screen appeared in front of his face that only he could see. Text scrolled across it introducing the Eye of the Watcher God system. Apparently, when he died, his blood had activated the camera's true power. It was a relic from actual Norse mythology. The camera that Odin used to watch the 9 realms. And now it was bound to Kaijin. But there was a catch. The gods were bored. They had been bored for centuries. And now they had found new entertainment. Him. His life was literally a stream for divine beings. If he did cool stuff, they would give him rewards. Hype points that he could spend to unlock abilities. And the craziest part? The camera could scan and copy any skill it recorded. Any ability. Any technique. As long as he had enough hype points, he could steal powers just by filming them. Kaijin was still processing this when a proctor slammed a hand on his desk. The guy was sneering at him. It was Examiner Mook, the same examiner who had tried to fail Kaijin in the original timeline just because he looked weak. Mook said that if Kaijin was going to sleep through the exam, he should just leave now and stop wasting everyone's time. And just like that, Kaijin remembered. In his first life, he had been so nervous during this exam that he barely passed. The combat test was a disaster. He couldn't even damage the test dummy properly. Everyone laughed at him. It was humiliating. But this time was different. This time he had knowledge. He had experience. And he had a literal cheat system from the gods. Kaijin stood up and said he was ready for the combat test right now. Mook looked surprised then laughed. He said, "Fine, let's see what the trash can do." He led Kaijin to the combat arena where other students were already testing. There was a training dummy made of reinforced manasteel in the center. Students had to damage it using whatever abilities they had awakened. Most of them were doing okay. Little cracks and dents. Nothing impressive. Then Kaijin saw him. Draco Vermilion. Red hair slicked back. Expensive combat uniform. Surrounded by his crew of rich kids. He was the son of a major guild master and he knew it. In the original timeline, Draco had humiliated Kaijin during this test. Made him look pathetic in front of everyone. Draco noticed Kaijin and smirked. He said something about how the academy standards must have dropped if they were letting homeless people take the exam. His friends laughed. Kaijin just smiled. Because he noticed something. Draco was preparing his technique. A fireball spell. B-rank fire magic that was way above what most exam takers could do. He was showing off. And Kaijin's camera was already recording. The Eye of the Watcher God hummed in his hand. A notification appeared saying that it had successfully scanned fire manipulation rank B. Cost to copy. 100 hype points. And according to his status screen, he currently had exactly 100 hype points as a starter bonus. Kaijin looked up at the invisible audience of gods watching his life. Then he did something crazy. He spoke directly to them. He said that if they were watching, if they were real, then they should get ready for a show. Because the trash porter was about to become the most entertaining hunter they had ever seen. For a second, nothing happened. Then the notifications started going insane. Odin the Allfather has started watching. Thor the Thunder God is interested. Loki the Trickster is laughing. A message appeared from Odin himself saying this better be good because so far it was boring. Just another weak human taking an exam. Kaijin grinned. He walked up to the combat dummy. Examiner Mook was already preparing to mock him. Draco and his friends were snickering. Everyone expected him to fail. Kaijin raised the camera with one hand and pointed his other hand at the dummy. He spent those 100 hype points in one go and activated the copied skill. Fire manipulation rank B flooded into his body. His hand ignited with flames so hot the air around it started warping. Draco's smile died instantly because he recognized his own technique. But how was some nobody using it? He hadn't even awakened yet, according to the records. Kaijin didn't give anyone time to question it. He released the fireball. But not just any fireball. Because Kaijin had 10 years of combat experience that his teenage body didn't. He knew exactly how to compress mana for maximum impact. He poured everything into this one shot. The fireball screamed across the arena like a meteor. It hit the test dummy dead center and the entire thing exploded. Not cracked. Not damaged. Exploded. Chunks of reinforced manasteel flew everywhere. The shockwave knocked over half the students watching. Alarms started going off because the safety barriers almost failed. When the smoke cleared, there was just a crater where the dummy used to be. Dead silence. Everyone was staring at Kaijin like he had just grown a second head. Examiner Mook's jaw was literally hanging open. Draco looked like someone had slapped him with a fish. And then the notifications came. Thor the Thunder God donated 500 hype points with a message. Now that is what I'm talking about. Loki the Trickster donated 300 hype points. The look on that red-haired brat's face was priceless. Freya the Goddess of War donated 400 hype points. I want to see more of this mortal. The donations kept rolling in. Gods Kaijin had never even heard of were throwing hype points at him. His counter was going crazy. Within seconds, he had over 2,000 hype points. But the best notification was the last one. Odin the Allfather donated 1,000 hype points with a simple message. I will be watching your career with great interest. Kaijin looked at the camera in his hand and started laughing. This was it. This was his second chance. He wasn't going to be trash anymore. He was going to become the strongest hunter in the world. He was going to expose every traitor, every corrupt hero, every demon deal, and he was going to get filthy rich doing it, because the gods weren't the only ones watching anymore. Kaijin noticed other students pulling out their phones. They had recorded what just happened. This was going to be all over social media in minutes. Examiner Mook finally found his voice and stammered that the test was over. Kaijin had passed. Obviously. Draco stepped forward looking furious. He demanded to know how Kaijin used his family's technique. That was proprietary magic. Copywritten. He could sue. Kaijin just smiled and told him that if he had a problem he could take it up with the gods. Then he walked past Draco toward the exit. But not before stopping and saying one more thing. He told Draco that this was just the beginning. That he should get comfortable being number 2. Because the real show was about to start. So the examiners were absolutely losing their minds after Kaijin's performance. Like they didn't know what to do with him. Some wanted to disqualify him for cheating even though nobody could prove he cheated. Others wanted to study him because how did a nobody with 0 records suddenly nuke a test dummy into the Shadow Realm? But they couldn't stop the exam. Too many students, too many important families watching. So they just moved on to the next phase. The practical dungeon exam. This was where things got real. The academy had built a fake dungeon using expensive manatech. It was basically a huge forest arena filled with low-level monsters. Mostly goblins and slimes. The goal was simple. Hunt monsters, collect magic stones, get points. Top 50 scorers got into the academy. In Kaijin's first life he had barely scraped into the top 50 by hiding and stealing a few kills at the last second. It was pathetic. He remembered being so scared of the goblins that he almost peed himself. But this time Kaijin had a plan. And it was absolutely shameless. The students got teleported into different zones of the forest. Kaijin landed in a clearing and immediately heard fighting nearby. He could see other students battling goblins. Sword slashes, magic blasts, the usual stuff. Normal people would join the fight, right? Kaijin hid behind a tree. He watched this one kid, some tryhard with a long sword, absolutely gonna town on a goblin. The kid was giving it everything. Proper form, good technique, really working for that kill. The goblin was almost dead, stumbling around with like 10% health left. And that's when Kaijin picked up a rock and threw it. The rock bonked the goblin right in the head. The monster collapsed, dead. A notification appeared saying Kaijin had earned the kill credit and gained 10 points. The sword kid stopped mid-swing and looked around confused. Where did his goblin go? Who threw that rock? Kaijin was already gone, moving to the next fight. He did this over and over. Find a student who was about to kill a monster. Wait until the monster was almost dead. Throw a rock or stick or whatever for the last hit. Steal the points. Disappear into the bushes. It was the scummiest strategy possible. And the gods absolutely loved it. A notification popped up saying Loki the Trickster donated 1,000 hype points. The message with it said, "This is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. This mortal understands true chaos." Another one from Loki said, "The way he stole that kill from the sword boy, I'm crying. This is peak entertainment." Thor's message was less happy. Said, "This is dishonorable combat. Fight like a warrior, not a coward." But Thor still kept watching. And more gods were joining the stream. Kaijin could see the viewer count going up. Apparently word was spreading in whatever divine realm these gods hung out in. Kaijin grinned. He wasn't trying to be honorable. He was trying to be efficient and entertaining, because entertainment meant high points and high points meant power. His score was climbing fast. He was already in the top 20 and he hadn't fought a single monster properly. But then he heard something that made him stop. A girl was crying. Kaijin followed the sound and found a small clearing. There was a girl with silver hair backed against a tree. She was tiny, maybe 5 foot nothing, with this oversized healer robe that looked like it was swallowing her. Her eyes were red from crying. And surrounding her were 3 guys in expensive gear. Kaijin recognized them. Draco's lackeys. The young master's personal bootlickers. The leader was this blonde punk who was laughing and saying that healers didn't need points anyway. They should just hand over their magic stones to real hunters. The guys with him were agreeing, saying the girl should be grateful they weren't taking everything. The silver-haired girl, Rin, was clutching a small bag with maybe 3 magic stones in it. She was shaking but she wouldn't let go. One of the lackeys reached for the bag and Rin flinched back. She stammered that she needed these points, that she had to pass the exam. That healing was important too. The blonde punk just slapped her hand away and grabbed the bag. Kaijin was about to walk away. Not his problem, right? He had points to steal. But then a blue window appeared right in his face. New quest alert. Save the damsel to gain a subscriber. The quest description said that if he helped this girl, she would become loyal to him. Permanent party member. And the reward was 500 hype points plus a rare item box. But more importantly, Kaijin's camera was already recording. And he could see the god chat going crazy. Freya the goddess donated 200 hype points. If this boy leaves that girl, I'm canceling my subscription. Sif the golden-haired donated 300 hype points. Save her or face divine punishment. Even Thor changed his tune. Finally, a chance for honorable combat. Show these bullies what justice looks like. Loki's message was different. Or don't save her and watch them cry. Either way, I'm entertained. Kaijin sighed. The gods wanted a show. And honestly, those three jerks were annoying him anyway. He stepped into the clearing. The blonde punk noticed him first and sneered. He asked if Kaijin wanted to donate his points too. Maybe they'd let him leave with one magic stone if he begged nicely. Kaijin looked at the three of them and asked how much Draco was paying them to be this pathetic. The blonde punk's face went red. He said that Kaijin must have gotten lucky earlier, but now he was alone against three of them. They all had combat skills awakened. What did Kaijin have? Kaijin checked his stats. After that fireball display earlier, he had dumped all his remaining hype points into strength. Like all of it. His strength stat was now 47, which was absolutely cracked for a level 1 hunter. Most students were sitting at like 8 or 10 strength. He told the three lackeys he had hands. Then he walked forward. The blonde punk threw a punch enhanced with mana. It was fast, probably would have knocked out a normal student. Kaijin caught his fist and squeezed. There was a crunching sound. The punk started screaming because Kaijin was literally crushing his hand bones. Kaijin hadn't even used a skill, just raw strength stat. The other two lackeys rushed in with weapons drawn. Kaijin tossed the blonde punk into one of them. They both went down in a heap. The third guy, a tall dude with a spear, tried to stab Kaijin in the back. Kaijin turned and slapped him. Just an open palm slap across the face. The guy actually flew through the air and crashed into a tree 10 feet away. He slumped down unconscious with a handprint burned into his cheek. The remaining two lackeys were scrambling to get up. Kaijin walked over and stepped on the blonde punk's chest. Not hard enough to break ribs, but hard enough to keep him pinned. He told them that they had two choices. Option 1, leave their magic stones as an apology tax and run away. Option 2, he beats them up, takes their stones anyway, and uploads the footage to social media with their names attached. The blonde punk was crying now. He said yes to option 1. Please, option 1. Kaijin collected their magic stones. All 15 of them. Then he let them go. They ran away so fast they left scorch marks. Kaijin turned to Rin, who was staring at him with her mouth open. He tossed her bag of stones back to her plus 5 extra from what he just collected. He told her she should learn to defend herself better. Healers were important, but healers who couldn't protect their own loot were just free point donations for bullies. Rin was blushing and stammering a thank you. She asked why he helped her. Kaijin held up his camera and said he needed a camera woman. Someone to film his fights when things got crazy. In exchange, he'd make sure she passed the exam and got into the academy. Rin looked confused. What camera? What filming? Kaijin explained that he was documenting his hunter journey, making content. She didn't need to understand, just point the camera at him during fights and look cute for the thumbnail. Rin's face went completely red. She said she wasn't cute and she didn't know how to use a camera, and this was all very sudden. But then a notification appeared. Rin has agreed to join your party. Loyalty, 15%. Role, support. Special bonus. Rin's presence increases hype point gains by 10% when she's in frame. Quest complete. Rare item box obtained. The donations started rolling in again. Freya donated 500 hype points. This mortal knows how to treat a lady. Bonus points for making her blush. Sif donated 400 hype points. A healer companion is wise. Protect her well, young hunter. Even Loki donated 600 points because that slap was comedy gold. The way that guy flew into the tree. I'm dead. Kaijin's point total was going crazy. He was definitely in the top 10 now, maybe even top 5. He told Rin to stay close and started walking deeper into the forest. They needed more points to secure a good ranking. But then everything went wrong. The entire forest started shaking. Trees were falling over. Students were screaming in the distance. A system announcement appeared in front of every student. Warning. Hidden boss has spawned due to anomaly. All examinees evacuate to the safe zones immediately. Kaijin heard something massive moving through the trees. Something way bigger than a goblin. And then it appeared. A hobgoblin. But not a normal one. This thing was mutated. It stood 12 feet tall with muscles on muscles. Its skin was dark red and covered in these glowing purple veins. It had 4 arms and each one held a different weapon. Sword, axe, club and spear. The monster's eyes locked onto Kaijin and Rin. A notification appeared saying this was a mutant hobgoblin lord. Level 25. Boss class enemy. For reference, students in this exam were level 1 to maybe level 3 if they grinded hard. This thing could kill them in one hit. Rin grabbed Kaijin's arm and said they needed to run. Now. But Kaijin was looking at his camera. The eye of the Watcher God was vibrating. A message appeared saying that if he defeated this boss, the gods would grant him a legendary reward. The god chat was exploding. Odin donated 2,000 hype points. Do it. Slay the beast and prove your worth. Thor donated 1,500 hype points. This is a true test of a warrior. Fight with honor. Loki donated 1,000 hype points, or die trying. Either outcome is hilarious. Other students were running past them screaming. The examiners were shouting evacuation orders over the loudspeakers. And Kaijin looked at this monster that should be impossible to beat. Then he smiled. He told Rin to keep the camera steady, because he was about to do something incredibly stupid. So there's Kaijin standing in front of a 12-foot-tall murder machine while everyone else is running for their lives. Rin was tugging on his sleeve begging him to evacuate. The exam proctors were screaming through speakers that students needed to get to the safe zones immediately. But Kaijin wasn't moving, because he saw something nobody else did. A quest notification that made his heart race. Emergency quest. Slay the impossible. Defeat the mutant hobgoblin lord alone. Reward. Legendary item drop. 5,000 hype points. Title unlock. Failure. Death. The camera in his hand was practically burning with energy. The eye of the Watcher God wanted this fight. The gods wanted this fight. And honestly, Kaijin wanted this fight too. He told Rin to hide behind that big rock over there and keep the camera pointed at him no matter what happened. If he died, she should upload the footage and make sure it went viral. Rin looked at him like he'd lost his mind. She said he was going to die. That thing was a boss monster. He was level 1. Kaijin just grinned and said that's exactly why the gods would love it. The hobgoblin lord roared and charged. The ground shook with each step. It raised all 4 weapons preparing to turn Kaijin into paste. Kaijin activated his mythic eye. His left eye started glowing purple and suddenly everything slowed down. Not actually slow motion, but his perception got cranked up. He could see the muscle movements in the hobgoblin's legs. The way it shifted weight. The pattern of its attack. A scanning interface appeared over the monster showing its stats, skills, and weak points. The thing had 5,000 HP. Its strength was 89. It had skills like Berserk Rage, Four-Armed Combat Mastery, and Thick Hide. But there, on its left heel, a glowing red spot that said Critical Weak Point, Achilles Tendon. The hobgoblin swung all 4 weapons at once. Sword, axe, club, and spear came at Kaijin from different angles. He dove forward, sliding under the attacks. Weapons crashed into the ground where he'd been standing. The impact made a crater. Kaijin popped up right next to the monster's leg. He had one shot at this. He activated his copy ability on the hobgoblin's Berserk Rage skill. The cost was 800 hype points, but he had over 6,000 banked from all the donations. He spent the points without hesitation. New skill acquired, Berserk Rage rank A. When active, strength and speed increase by 200% but defense drops to 0. Duration, 3 minutes. Kaijin activated it immediately. His body exploded with power. Veins bulged on his arms. His eyes turned bloodshot. Every muscle felt like it was on fire in the best way possible. His strength stat jumped from 47 to 141 in 1 second. He grabbed the hobgoblin's ankle and squeezed. The monster's Achilles tendon snapped like a guitar string. The hobgoblin screamed and fell to one knee. Tried to swing at Kaijin, but he was already moving. The Berserk Rage made him stupid fast. He climbed up the monster's leg, dodged a club swing, and ripped the club out of its hand. The club was massive, probably weighed 300 pounds. Normal Kaijin couldn't even lift it. Berserk Kaijin swung it like a baseball bat. He smashed the hobgoblin in the face. Teeth flew. The monster stumbled back. Kaijin hit it again, and again. He was screaming the whole time, completely lost in the rage buff. The god chat was going absolutely insane. Thor donated 3,000 hype points. BY Odin's beard. This mortal fights like a true berserker. Tyr the war god donated 2,000 hype points. He's using the monster's own weapon against it. Glorious. Loki donated 1,500 hype points. The way he's just wailing on that thing. I can't breathe. This is too good. Freya donated 2,500 hype points. Such savagery. Such power. I may be in love. The donations kept rolling in. Gods Kaijin had never heard of were subscribing to his channel. His hype point counter was going crazy. But he couldn't pay attention to that. The hobgoblin was still alive and very angry. Caught Kaijin's club swing with 2 hands and threw him. Kaijin flew 20 feet and crashed into a tree hard enough to crack the trunk. His HP dropped by half. The Berserk Rage was still active though. He couldn't feel the pain. He got up and charged again. The hobgoblin tried to stomp him. Kaijin rolled left and swung at its good leg. The club connected with the knee joint and there was a sickening crunch. Now both legs were damaged. The monster fell completely, dropping to all 6 limbs like some kind of horrible insect. He tried to stab Kaijin with the spear. The blade grazed his shoulder, taking another chunk of HP. But Kaijin grabbed the spear shaft and yanked. The monster's grip was weakening. Kaijin pulled himself up the spear, ran across the hobgoblin's arm, and jumped. He brought the club down on the monster's skull with every point of his 141 strength behind it. The hobgoblin's head caved in. Critical hit. Instant kill. The monster dissolved into particles of light. A notification appeared saying he'd gained 2,000 experience points and jumped straight to level 8. His stats increased across the board. But more importantly, loot dropped. 3 items materialized in the air. A magic stone the size of a basketball. A skill book that said Advanced Combat Mastery. And a weird mask that looked like it was made of black smoke and silver wire. Kaijin's berserk rage wore off and he immediately collapsed. His body felt like one giant bruise. His HP was sitting at about 15%. Rin ran over screaming his name. She activated her healing magic and a warm green light washed over him. His HP started climbing back up. It was slow healing, she was still low level, but it worked. Kaijin grabbed the mask and a description appeared. Item. The Streamer's Mask. Legendary grade. Effect. Completely hides the wearer's identity including face, voice, and mana signature. Cannot be removed by force or magic. Perfect for illegal streaming activities. Kaijin started laughing. The gods had literally given him a tool to break the law. Streaming dungeon raids without guild permits was super illegal. But with this mask nobody could prove it was him. The quest completion notification appeared with all the rewards. 5,000 hype points, the legendary mask, and a new title, Giant Slayer. The exam announcement came through saying the test was over. All students report to the main hall for results. Kaijin stood up, grabbed his loot, and told Rin they should head back. She was still freaking out about how he just soloed a boss monster, but he just shrugged and said it was good content. When they got back to the main hall, the atmosphere was weird. Students were whispering and pointing at Kaijin. Some looked impressed. Others looked scared. Draco was standing with his crew looking absolutely furious. The results board lit up showing the rankings. First place. Kaijin, 2,847 points. Second place. Draco Vermilion, 892 points. Kaijin had almost triple the points of second place. It wasn't even close. The crowd went silent. Then someone started clapping. Then more people. Within seconds half the hall was applauding. But then the doors slammed open and the mood died instantly. Director Viper walked in. This guy was the head administrator of the Hunter Academy. He was tall, thin, with these weird snake-like eyes that barely blinked. He wore expensive robes and had this smile that made people uncomfortable. In Kaijin's past life, Director Viper had been exposed 5 years from now as a demon collaborator. He'd been selling student information to gate monsters and getting kickbacks from corrupt guilds. But right now he was still in power. And he was looking directly at Kaijin. Director Viper announced that there had been irregularities in the exam. Someone had exploited a system glitch to gain unfair advantages. Therefore, the results needed to be reviewed. Kaijin knew exactly where this was going. Viper walked up to the results board and pointed at Kaijin's name. He said that preliminary investigations showed suspicious activity. A porter with no recorded abilities suddenly displaying multiple skills. Defeating a boss monster meant for level 20 hunters. Stealing kills from other students. The crowd started murmuring. Draco was smiling now. Director Viper said that until the investigation was complete, Kaijin could not be placed in Class South where first place normally went. Instead, for the safety of the other students and the integrity of the academy, Kaijin would be placed in Class F. Class F, the trash class, where they put students who barely passed. The joke class that got the worst teachers, the worst equipment, and zero respect. The hall exploded with whispers. Some students were laughing. Draco was laughing the hardest, saying that cheaters always get caught eventually. Rin looked devastated. She grabbed Kaijin's arm and said this wasn't fair. He won legitimately, but Kaijin was smiling. Director Viper noticed and his snake eyes narrowed. He asked if Kaijin had something to say. Kaijin said he accepted the placement. Class F was fine with him. The crowd went silent again. Even Viper looked surprised. Draco shouted that Kaijin must be scared. Admitting defeat already. Pathetic. But Kaijin just kept smiling because he knew something nobody else did. In his past life, he'd heard a rumor. Class F dormitory was built on top of an old gate that had been sealed 50 years ago. The academy thought it was completely closed. But it wasn't. There was a small entrance in the basement that led to a legendary dungeon called the Tomb of the First Hunter. A place with treasure that would make his current loot look like pocket change. A place nobody had found yet because everyone avoided Class F like the plague. Director Viper was trying to punish him. But he'd actually just given Kaijin access to the biggest cheat location in the entire academy. Kaijin looked at the camera in his pocket. The eye of the Watcher God was vibrating with excitement. The gods could sense his intent. A notification appeared from Odin. This mortal plays the long game. I approve. Bonus donation. 1,000 hype points. Loki's message said, he's planning something devious. I can feel it. This is going to be amazing. Director Viper dismissed everyone and told them to report to their assigned dorms tomorrow. As Kaijin walked out of the hall, Draco stepped in front of him. The young master said that Class F suited trash like Kaijin, that he should get comfortable at the bottom where he belonged. Kaijin looked him dead in the eyes and said that Draco should enjoy being first place, because it was the highest he was ever going to reach. Then Kaijin walked past him, collected Rin, who was still trying to protest the unfair treatment, and headed toward the Class F dorms. He had a legendary dungeon to raid. The Class F dormitory was exactly as terrible as Kaijin remembered. The building looked like it was held together by duct tape and prayers. Paint peeling everywhere. Windows cracked. The whole place smelled like mold and regret. Most Class F students were either crying in their rooms or already planning to drop out. This was where dreams came to die. Kaijin loved it. Rin followed him up the creaky stairs looking horrified. She kept saying he didn't deserve this, that they should file a complaint, that Director Viper was corrupt and everyone knew it. Kaijin told her to relax. Everything was going according to plan. She looked at him like he was insane. His assigned room was on the 3rd floor, room 3F. The door barely hung on its hinges. Inside was a bed that sagged in the middle, a desk with 3 legs, and wallpaper that might have been white 50 years ago. But Kaijin wasn't looking at any of that. He was looking at the floor, specifically the wooden floorboards in the corner that had this weird purple glow coming through the cracks. Most people would think it was just mold or weird lighting, but Kaijin knew better. He told Rin to keep watch and lock the door. She asked what he was doing. Kaijin grabbed the broken desk leg and started prying up floorboards. The wood was rotten, so it came up easy. And underneath, exactly where he remembered from the rumors in his past life, was something impossible. Portal. Not a gate. Those were red and violent looking. This was a small swirling circle of purple and black energy about 3 feet wide. It hummed with ancient power. Rin gasped and said that was a dungeon entrance. An unsealed one. They needed to report this immediately. It was dangerous. People could die. Kaijin said yeah, that's exactly why he was going in alone. Rin grabbed his arm and said absolutely not. He just fought a boss monster today. He was still recovering. This was suicide. But Kaijin activated his camera and the eye of the Watcher God started glowing. A notification appeared saying he discovered a hidden legendary dungeon. The Tomb of the First Hunter. Recommended level 15. Current level 8. The God chat immediately exploded. Odin donated 1,000 hype points. He found it. The tomb we've been searching for. This mortal continues to impress. Thor donated 800 hype points. Entering alone at level 8. Madness. Glorious madness. Loki donated 1,200 hype points. Oh, this is going to end badly. I'm here for it. And then a new subscriber joined the chat. Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, donated 2,000 hype points. Is this the mortal everyone's talking about? Let me see him fight. I do enjoy watching a well-built man in combat. Kaijin almost choked reading that notification. A literal goddess just commented on his body. The chat was going wild with emotes and reactions. He told Rin he'd be back in an hour. If he wasn't, she should seal this portal and forget about it. Then he jumped into the swirling energy before she could argue. The world twisted. Colors inverted. Kaijin felt like he was falling through cold water. Then his feet hit stone and everything stabilized. He was standing in a massive underground chamber. The walls were carved with ancient runes that glowed faintly. Torches burned with purple flames. And in the center of the room was a pedestal with a single item on it. But between Kaijin and that pedestal were dozens of shadowy figures. A notification appeared explaining the dungeon mechanic. Shadow Reflection Tomb. Any intruder will face copies of themselves. Defeat your shadow to claim the treasure. Die to your shadow and become part of the dungeon forever. The shadows started moving. They flowed across the floor like liquid darkness and began forming shapes. One of them rose up in front of Kaijin and solidified into an exact copy of him. Same black messy hair. Same tired eyes. Same basic equipment. It even had a shadow version of his camera. The clone stared at him with empty eyes. Then it attacked. The shadow clone moved exactly like Kaijin would. It went for a quick jab to test range. Kaijin blocked. The clone immediately followed with a leg sweep. Kaijin jumped back. This thing knew all his moves because it was him. Kaijin tried using his copied fireball skill. The clone used the exact same skill at the exact same time. The two fireballs collided mid-air and cancelled out. He tried rushing in with Berserk Rage. The clone activated Berserk Rage too. They clashed and it was like punching a mirror. Equal strength, equal speed, equal technique. The God chat was loving it. Hermes donated 500 hype points. He's fighting himself. The symbolism. The drama. Ares the war god donated 1,000 hype points. This is a true test of a warrior. Only the superior version survives. Aphrodite donated 1,500 hype points. The way his muscles flex when he dodges, simply magnificent. Kaijin was getting frustrated. Every attack he threw, the clone matched perfectly. Every feint, every combo, everything. It was reading his intentions like a book. Then he realized something. The clone could copy his combat skills, his techniques, his abilities, but it couldn't copy creativity. Kaijin suddenly stopped fighting. The clone stopped too, waiting for his next move. Instead of attacking, Kaijin started dancing. Not like cool combat footwork, like actual dancing. He did the floss. Then he hit the gritty. Then he started doing the most ridiculous TikTok dances he could remember from his past life. The clone tried to copy the movements, but it looked confused. Its attacks were perfect because they were programmed. But this random nonsense? Didn't know what to do. The God chat absolutely lost it. Loki donated 3,000 hype points. I'm dying. The clone's face. It looks so confused. Thor donated 500 hype points. This is not honorable combat, but I cannot look away. Aphrodite donated 2,000 hype points. Is this a mating dance? I'm not familiar with mortal courtship rituals, but I'm intrigued. Freya donated 1,800 hype points. The confidence to do this in a life or death situation, truly remarkable. Kaijin kept dancing. He did the Macarena. He did the robot. He started doing yoga poses. The shadow clone was mimicking the movements but getting slower, more uncertain. And that's when Kaijin struck. Mid-dab, he suddenly lunged forward with a real attack. The clone was still in dab position, completely unprepared. Kaijin's fist connected with its face. The shadow stumbled back. Kaijin didn't give it time to recover. He activated Berserk Rage and went full offense. The clone tried to activate its own Berserk Rage, but it was still confused from the dancing. It was a half-second too slow. That half-second was all Kaijin needed. He grabbed the clone's head and slammed it into the stone floor. Once, twice, 3 times. The shadow started cracking like glass. One final punch and the clone shattered into particles of darkness. Victory notification appeared. Dungeon first clear bonus. All rewards doubled. The remaining shadow figures in the room dissolved. The torches burned brighter. And the pedestal in the center started glowing. Kaijin walked over and grabbed the item. It was a dagger. The blade was made of solidified shadow that seemed to drink in light. The handle had strange symbols carved into it. A description appeared. Item: Shadow Dagger of the Eternal Stream. Legendary grade. Effect: weapon damage increases by 1% for every 100 viewers watching the wielder. Current viewers: 47 gods. Bonus damage: 47%. Additional effect: strikes from this blade cannot be perceived by cameras or recording devices except the eye of the watcher god. Kaijin stared at the dagger. This was insane. The more gods watched him, the stronger this weapon became. And the fact that normal cameras couldn't see it meant he could use it in public without anyone knowing. It was the perfect assassin's weapon for someone who lived their life on stream. The donations were going crazy. Odin donated 5,000 hype points. A weapon worthy of a true warrior. Use it well, mortal. Loki donated 4,000 hype points. That dancing strategy was the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. Genius. Aphrodite donated 3,000 hype points. I look forward to seeing more of your combat. And your dancing. A new quest appeared saying he could continue deeper into the tomb for more rewards, but recommended level was 20. Kaijin decided to come back later. He'd already gotten amazing loot and his HP was getting low. He found the exit portal and jumped through. He landed back in his room where Rin was pacing nervously. She screamed when he appeared, then hugged him and said she was so worried. He'd been gone for 2 hours, not 1. Time moved differently in dungeons apparently. Kaijin showed her the shadow dagger. She couldn't see the blade clearly because of its properties, but she could sense its power. She asked how he knew about that dungeon. He just tapped his head and said he had insider information. His stomach growled. Fighting shadow clones worked up an appetite. He told Rin they should hit the cafeteria. The academy cafeteria was packed with students from all classes. The seating was segregated by rank. Class S got the best tables with actual good food. Class F got whatever scraps were left at tables near the trash bins. Kaijin and Rin grabbed their trays of questionable gray slop and headed to the Class F section. That's when he heard Rin's name being shouted. A group of senior students, second years wearing Class B uniforms, were surrounding their table. The leader was this buff guy with a shaved head covered in tattoos. He was holding Rin's bag. The guy was saying that a Class F healer owed him payment for protection. That weak little girls needed strong men to keep them safe. And payment was due now. His friends were laughing and agreeing. One of them said they'd take magic stones or equipment, or maybe just her phone number. Rin looked terrified. She was trying to say she didn't ask for protection, that she didn't owe them anything. The tattooed senior grabbed her wrist. And that's when Kaijin's camera started recording automatically. A notification appeared. Emergency quest. Defend your party member. Reward, 1,000 hype points. Penalty for failure. Rin leaves the party permanently. The God chat appeared even though Kaijin hadn't manually activated the stream. Thor. These cowards prey on the weak. Show them the error of their ways. Freya. If he doesn't protect her, I'm unsubscribing. Loki. Plot twist. He protects her by embarrassing them so badly they transfer schools. Kaijin put down his tray. He walked over to the seniors' table. And he smiled that smile that meant someone was about to have a very bad day. The tattooed senior was still gripping Rin's wrist when Kaijin walked up. But now Kaijin could see the full situation. They hadn't just grabbed her. They dumped her tray of food all over her head. Gray slop was dripping down her silver hair. She was trying not to cry. The leader of this group was even bigger up close. The guy was easily 6'5" and built like a tank. His name tag said Brutus, Class B, second year. He had this ugly smirk like he'd done this 1,000 times and gotten away with it every time. Brutus noticed Kaijin and laughed. He asked if this was Rin's boyfriend coming to save her. How cute. He told Kaijin that if he wanted his girl back, he should get on his knees and lick Brutus's boots clean. His crew of 5 other seniors started laughing and banging on the table. The entire cafeteria was watching now. Hundreds of students had stopped eating to see what would happen. Most looked uncomfortable, but nobody was stepping in. This was Class B seniors. They had power. Connections. You didn't mess with them unless you wanted your academy life ruined. Kaijin looked at Rin, who was shaking. Then he looked at Brutus. Then he whispered 2 words. Stream on. His camera activated. But this time it wasn't just recording for the gods. Kaijin had linked it to the Hunter network using his streamer's mask settings. He was broadcasting live to both the Divine Realm and the public internet simultaneously. A notification appeared in the God chat. New stream title Bully Beatdown. Tank gets folded. The viewer count started climbing immediately. Odin joined the stream. Thor joined the stream. Loki joined the stream with 3 emotes of popcorn. And on the public Hunter network, regular people started joining too. The viewer count hit 100. Then 500. Then 1,000. Kaijin smiled at Brutus and said he had a counter offer. Brutus could apologize to Rin, clean up the mess he made, and leave. Or Kaijin could make him. The cafeteria went silent. Brutus stared at Kaijin for 3 seconds. Then he burst out laughing. His friends were dying. Some students in the crowd were cracking up too. A Class F first year threatening a Class B second year? That was comedy gold. Brutus said that Kaijin must have hit his head. He was a nobody. A trash class reject who got demoted on day 1. And Brutus was a B-rank tank with maxed out defense stats and taunt skills. He'd been raiding dungeons for over a year. Kaijin just shrugged. Brutus got angry. He said fine, he'd teach this brat a lesson. He wound up and threw a punch. The guy's fist was massive and it was glowing with mana reinforcement. A punch like that could break bones easily. The crowd gasped. Some people screamed for Kaijin to dodge. Kaijin didn't move. The punch connected with his face. Nothing happened. Brutus's fist just stopped against Kaijin's cheek like it hit a brick wall. Kaijin's head didn't even turn. He didn't stumble. He just stood there looking bored. Then he yawned. The cafeteria exploded with shocked whispers. Brutus pulled his fist back looking confused. He checked his hand like maybe it was broken. But no, his hand was fine. The problem was Kaijin's face was apparently made of steel. What Brutus didn't know was that Kaijin had dumped points into Constitution after the dungeon raid. His defense stat was sitting at 63, which was absurd for his level. Plus, he had damage reduction from his equipment. A punch from a level 12 tank barely tickled. The God chat went insane. Thor donated 2,000 hype points. He didn't even flinch. Incredible. Loki donated 2,500 hype points. The disrespect of that yawn. I'm crying. Aphrodite donated 1,800 hype points. His jawline didn't even move. Perfection. On the public Hunter network, the chat was blowing up too. Comments flying by saying, who is this guy? Is this edited? No way, that's real. Class F students can't tank hits like that. Brutus tried punching again. Same result. His fist bounced off Kaijin's face. Kaijin sighed and said he was disappointed. He'd heard tanks were supposed to hit hard. This felt like getting poked by a toddler. Brutus's face went red with rage. He activated his big skill, Titan Slam. His entire body glowed with golden energy, and he brought both fists down on Kaijin's head with enough force to crack the floor tiles. The impact made a sound like thunder. Smoke and dust filled the air. When it cleared, Kaijin was still standing in the exact same spot. His hair was a little messy. That was it. He looked at Brutus and asked if he was done warming up. The crowd was losing their minds. People were recording on their phones now. This was the craziest thing anyone had seen. Brutus stumbled back looking terrified. He told his crew to jump in and help. The 5 other seniors rushed at Kaijin from different angles. They had swords, magic, various skills. A coordinated attack from 6 Class B students. Kaijin's hand moved to the shadow dagger at his belt. The moment he drew it, the atmosphere changed. The dagger didn't reflect light. It seemed to absorb it. And with 47 gods watching plus over 5,000 viewers on the public stream, the weapon's damage bonus was sitting at over 50%. Kaijin moved. To everyone watching, it looked like he teleported. 1 second he was standing still. The next second he was behind all 6 seniors. He hadn't even swung the dagger. Just moved past them really fast. For a moment nothing happened. Then Brutus's belt snapped in half. His pants fell down around his ankles, revealing bright pink underwear with little hearts on them. The cafeteria absolutely erupted with laughter. But Kaijin wasn't done. He cut all 6 belts. Every single senior's pants dropped simultaneously. One guy had cartoon character boxers. Another had tidy whities that were definitely not white anymore. The worst was the guy wearing a thong who clearly lost a bet at some point. The seniors scrambled to pull their pants up while the entire student body was dying laughing. People were on the floor. Some were crying from laughing so hard. Brutus looked at Kaijin with pure hatred and fear. He tried to say something threatening, but his voice cracked. Kaijin just patted him on the shoulder and said that bullies who can't even keep their pants up probably shouldn't be starting fights. Then he walked over to Rin, helped her up, and handed her a towel to clean the food off her hair. The stream chat was going absolutely nuclear. Loki donated 5,000 hype points. That's the funniest thing I've seen in 1,000 years. Thor donated 3,000 hype points. Humiliation is sometimes more effective than violence. Well done. Freya donated 4,000 hype points. He protected her and made it entertaining. Perfect execution. Ares donated 2,000 hype points. The pink hearts on the underwear. I can't breathe. New gods were subscribing. Minor deities nobody had heard of were joining just to see the replay. And on the public Hunter network, the clip was already being downloaded and shared. Within 5 minutes, it had 50,000 views. Within 10 minutes, it hit 100,000. The Hunter network chat was full of comments like, "This is the greatest thing ever. Who is this masked guy? Class F producing legends now. I need this guy's stream link." Because Kaijin was still wearing the streamer's mask. To the public, he looked like a mysterious masked fighter. They couldn't see his real face or identify him. Brutus and his crew ran out of the cafeteria holding their pants. The crowd was still laughing and recording. Kaijin helped Rin to a table and got her a new tray of food. She was blushing hard and thanking him over and over. That's when the cafeteria doors opened again. Everyone went quiet. A woman walked in wearing a designer suit that probably cost more than most students' yearly tuition. She had long black hair, blood-red lipstick, and moved like a predator. Her heels clicked on the floor with each step. Students were whispering her name, Lady Venom, the guild master of Serpent's Fang, one of the top 5 guilds in the country. What was she doing at the academy? She walked directly to Kaijin's table and smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Lady Venom said she just watched the most interesting video. A mysterious masked fighter humiliating 6 seniors without breaking a sweat. She did some digging and found out this fighter was actually a Class F student named Kaijin. She sat down without being invited and slid a contract across the table. The contract was thick. Legal-sized pages bound in leather. She said it was a standard guild recruitment offer. 5 million one signing bonus. Full equipment package. Private training facilities. Dungeon access. Everything a young hunter could want. Rin's eyes went wide looking at the numbers. But Kaijin was reading the fine print. And his expression got darker with every line. The contract had clauses about content ownership. About mandatory streaming schedules. About not being allowed to join other organizations. About penalty fees if he quit. This wasn't a recruitment offer. This was a slave contract. Lady Venom kept smiling and said that talented hunters needed proper management. She could make him famous, rich, powerful. All he had to do was sign. The god chat was warning him. Odin, do not sign that. I smell deception. Loki, that contract would own his soul. Literally, there's binding magic in the ink. Thor, a warrior should never surrender his freedom. Kaijin picked up the contract. Lady Venom's smile got wider. She was already reaching for a pen. Kaijin tore the contract in half. Then in half again. Then he threw the pieces in Lady Venom's face. The cafeteria gasped. Students were backing away. You didn't disrespect Lady Venom. Her guild had connections to the Hunter Association. To the government. She could ruin people with a phone call. Lady Venom's smile disappeared. Her eyes turned cold. She asked if Kaijin understood what he just did. Kaijin leaned back in his chair and said he understood perfectly. She wanted to own him, control his stream, take his earnings, make him another puppet in her collection. He said he'd rather stay in Class F than become her slave. Lady Venom stood up. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. She said that Kaijin just made a very powerful enemy. That talented hunters who refused her offers tended to have unfortunate accidents. Gates malfunctioned. Equipment failed. Teammates betrayed. Kaijin just smiled and said he'd take his chances. Then he said one more thing. He declared that he was going to make his own guild. A guild that actually cared about hunters instead of exploiting them. A guild that would expose the corrupt officials and fake heroes. And when his guild rose to the top, he'd personally put Serpent's Fang out of business. The cafeteria was dead silent. Lady Venom stared at him for a long moment. Then she laughed. Cold, cruel laugh. She said she'd remember this conversation. That watching him fail would be entertaining. Then she turned and walked out, her heels clicking ominously. The moment she left, students started whispering frantically. Some were saying Kaijin was insane. Others were saying he was brave. Most were saying he was dead. Rin grabbed his arm and said he just made an enemy of one of the most powerful people in the country. Kaijin just activated his camera and checked the viewer count. The stream had peaked at 250,000 live viewers. He'd gained over 20,000 hype points from donations. And the video clip of him pantsing the bullies was trending #1 on the Hunter Network. He was famous now, and he was just getting started. The next morning started with Draco storming into the Class F common room like he owned the place. His red hair was perfectly styled even though it was 6 in the morning. He had his entire crew behind him looking smug. He announced that he had a proposal for Kaijin. A bet. The academy was running survival training camp next week in Mist Valley. Students got scored based on monster kills, resource gathering, and teamwork. Whoever got the lowest overall score between the two of them would voluntarily withdraw from the academy. The Class F students gasped. Withdrawal meant losing your hunter license permanently. You couldn't retake the exam. Your career was over before it started. Draco said that since Kaijin was so confident he should have no problem accepting. Unless he was scared. Kaijin was eating breakfast and didn't even look up. He just said sure, whatever, and went back to his food. Draco looked annoyed that he didn't get a bigger reaction. He said the bet was official and witnessed. Then he left with his crew. Rin immediately started panicking. She said Draco was Class S. He had resources, connections, the best equipment. How could Kaijin compete? Kaijin just shrugged and said he'd figure it out. A week later, they were loading onto buses for the training camp. Class S got a luxury coach with reclining seats and air conditioning. Class F got a bus that looked like it survived 3 wars and a flood. The seats were ripped. The windows didn't close properly. The engine made sounds that engines definitely shouldn't make. Kaijin claimed a seat in the back and immediately fell asleep. Big mistake. A notification appeared in his vision even though his eyes were closed. A golden window materialized showing that Odin the Allfather had donated 500 hype points with a message attached. The message said wake up and do something interesting. Sleeping is boring content. If he kept sleeping, Odin would reduce his viewer ranking. Kaijin opened one eye and mentally told Odin to let him rest. Another notification appeared. Thor had donated 300 hype points agreeing with Odin. Warriors didn't sleep before battle. Then Loki donated 400 hype points saying he should stay asleep so Loki could draw on his face. Kaijin groaned and sat up. Fine. No sleeping. He looked around the bus at his fellow Class F students. They all looked miserable and terrified. Most of them were convinced they'd fail this training and get kicked out. The bus ride took 4 hours through increasingly rough terrain. When they finally stopped, Kaijin saw why this place was called Mist Valley. Everything was covered in thick gray fog. Visibility was maybe 20 feet. The valley was massive, full of dense forest and rocky hills. And somewhere in all that fog were monsters that the students had to hunt. Director Viper was waiting at the entrance with instructors. He gave a speech about how this training would separate the wheat from the chaff. How only the strong deserved to become hunters. Then he started handing out supplies. Class S students got full camping kits. Tents, sleeping bags, cooking equipment, water purification tablets, emergency flares, detailed maps with marked safe zones and monster locations. Class F got a torn canvas tarp, a single water bottle per person, and a map that looked like it was photocopied 17 times until it was barely readable. Rin whispered that this was unfair. They were being set up to fail. Kaijin looked at the map they'd been given. Then he looked at Director Viper, who was smiling that snake smile. The director announced that Class S would start from the north entrance with clear trails. Class F would start from the west entrance where the fog was thickest. He wished them all good luck with a tone that suggested he hoped they'd get eaten by monsters. The classes separated. Draco gave Kaijin one last smirk before heading to his cushy starting position. Class F trudged into the thick fog looking defeated before they even started. Kaijin activated his mythic eye. The purple glow spread across his vision and suddenly he could see through the fog like it wasn't even there. He could see the terrain layout, the monster positions, and something else. The map Director Viper gave them was completely wrong. It showed a safe path that actually led straight into a nest of poison spiders. The real safe route was in the complete opposite direction. Kaijin stopped walking. He pulled out the map and ripped it into pieces. The other Class F students freaked out. Someone said they needed that map. How would they navigate without it? Kaijin told them the map was fake. Director Viper was trying to get them killed. But he'd found the real path. He pointed to what looked like a sheer cliff face covered in fog. One student said that was a dead end. They'd fall to their deaths. Kaijin's mythic eye showed him the truth though. The cliff was an illusion. A mana barrier designed to look like a drop. Beyond it was a hidden valley with resources and weak monsters perfect for farming points. He told everyone to trust him and jump. Nobody moved. Kaijin sighed. He grabbed the nearest student, a skinny kid with glasses, and kicked him off the cliff. The kid screamed the whole way down. Then the screaming stopped. Then the kid's voice came echoing back up saying, "Oh my God, there's no cliff, it's just a slide and there's treasure down here." The other students rushed to the edge. They couldn't see through the illusion, but they could hear their classmate shouting about finding a chest full of supplies. One by one they jumped. Kaijin and Rin went last. The fall felt real. The wind, the stomach-dropping sensation, everything. But after about 10 seconds they hit a gentle slope that curved into a landing zone covered in soft moss. And beyond that was paradise. A hidden valley protected by illusion barriers, crystal clear streams, fruit trees, and monsters that were only level 3 or 4. Basically experience point piñatas. The Class F students were celebrating. They'd found the jackpot location. Meanwhile, Kaijin could see through the fog to where Class S was struggling. Draco and his crew were trudging through mud. Bugs were everywhere. They'd already encountered a pack of level 10 dire wolves and barely survived. Kaijin activated his camera and started a stream titled Survival Training but Make It Luxury. The viewer count climbed fast. Gods were joining to see what he'd do next. Kaijin opened his system shop. This was a feature unlocked at level 10 that let him spend high points on items. Most hunters used it for potions and basic gear. Kaijin scrolled past all that to the lifestyle section. He bought a premium 5-star camping tent for 2,000 high points. The thing materialized out of thin air. It was huge. Had multiple rooms, temperature control, soft beds, portable shower. The Class F students stared in shock. Then he bought a portable cooking station for 1,000 high points. Professional grade with all the tools. Then he bought Wagyu beef grade A for 500 high points per steak. He bought 6 steaks. Rin asked what he was doing. They were supposed to be training. Kaijin said he was training. Training to live his best life while his enemies suffered. He set up the cooking station and started grilling the steaks. The smell filled the valley. The sizzle was perfect. He positioned the camera to get the best angle and started eating. The God chat exploded. A notification appeared showing that Loki the Trickster had donated 3,000 high points. The message said this level of disrespect is art. While everyone else suffers, he's eating Wagyu beef. I'm in love. Another window popped up with Thor's donation of 2,000 high points. The message said this is not how warriors should behave, but the steak does look incredible. Dionysus, the god of wine and celebration, donated 4,000 high points, saying finally a mortal who understands the finer things. Aphrodite donated 2,500 high points, commenting on how attractive he looked while eating and could he please chew slower. The public Hunter Network stream was going viral again. Comments flying past saying, is this guy serious? He's eating Wagyu during survival training. Absolute legend. Class F eating better than Class S. Someone needs to check on Draco. Speaking of Draco, Kaijin used his mythic eye to peek at the rival's location. Draco was covered in mud, scratched up from thorns, and currently arguing with his teammates about whose fault it was they got lost. They were eating emergency rations that looked like cardboard. Kaijin took another bite of perfectly cooked steak and smiled at the camera. He said that survival training wasn't about suffering. It was about using your resources intelligently. And his resources included a divine shopping network and a camera that made him money. More donations rolled in. He was earning high points faster than he could spend them. The other Class F students were hunting the low-level monsters and racking up points. They were actually having fun. This was the complete opposite of the nightmare they'd expected. Kaijin finished his steak and started on dessert. He'd bought premium ice cream from the shop. Then the sun started setting, and the fog changed color, from gray to red. A notification appeared warning that nighttime monsters were spawning. Difficulty increased significantly after dark. Kaijin stood up and activated his mythic eye to scan for threats. He saw them immediately. moving through the red fog. Dozens of them. Illusion wolves. These weren't normal monsters. They were level 15 and had the ability to create perfect copies of themselves. Fighting one was like fighting 5. They hunted in packs. And a pack of 6 was heading straight for the Class F camp. The other students noticed the shapes moving in the fog and started panicking. Rin grabbed her staff ready to heal, but her hands were shaking. The first wolf stepped into the clearing and it was horrifying. His body seemed to phase in and out of reality. His eyes glowed red. Saliva dripped from fangs that looked like they could bite through steel. Then it split into 5 copies. Then the other 5 wolves appeared and did the same thing. Suddenly there were 30 wolves surrounding their camp. A student screamed. Another one started crying. But Kaijin was smiling. Because a quest notification had just appeared offering 10,000 hype points if he defeated the entire pack without using weapons. And the god chat was going absolutely insane with anticipation. A golden window appeared showing that Odin had donated 5,000 hype points with a message that said, "Now this is content. Show us what you can do." Kaijin cracked his knuckles. The wolves growled and prepared to attack. And the stream viewer count hit 500,000. The 30 illusion wolves circled the camp like sharks smelling blood. Their red eyes reflected the campfire light, making them look even more demonic. The Class F students were backing toward the tent screaming for someone to do something. Kaijin calmly picked up his napkin and wiped his mouth. The Wagyu beef had been excellent. He stood up slowly and stretched like he'd just woken up from a nap. One of the wolves lunged at a student. The kid froze in terror. Kaijin's hand moved to the shadow dagger at his belt. The moment he touched it, a notification appeared showing his current viewer count. The stream had exploded. 200,000 people were watching. Gods, hunters, random civilians who'd heard about the crazy Class F student eating steak during survival training. The shadow dagger's damage bonus calculated instantly. 1% per 100 viewers meant a 2,000% damage increase. The weapon was practically humming with power in his hand. Kaijin drew the blade. The atmosphere changed. The temperature dropped. Even the wolves seemed to sense something was wrong. They stopped advancing and started circling more cautiously. Then Kaijin moved. To everyone watching, it looked like he was dancing. Smooth, flowing movements like a choreographed performance. He stepped between wolf copies like he knew exactly which ones were real and which were illusions. 1 slash. A wolf's head separated from its body before it could even howl. Another step. Another slash. 2 wolves down. The copies flickered and disappeared when the real ones died. The pack realized they were fighting something dangerous and all attacked at once. Kaijin spun. The shadow dagger traced arcs of darkness through the air. Wolves fell in pieces around him. Blood and shadow mixed together. The Class F students watched in complete shock. This was the same guy who'd been eating ice cream 5 minutes ago. Now he was dismantling a boss-level monster pack like it was nothing. A notification window appeared showing that Loki had donated 5,000 hype points. The message said, "The way he moves is like a deadly dance. This is the most beautiful violence I've ever witnessed." Another window popped up with Ares the war god donating 4,000 points. The message called Kaijin a natural-born killer with perfect form. Freya donated 6,000 points saying she wanted to watch him fight forever. The donations kept rolling in. The viewer count kept climbing. And with each new viewer, the shadow dagger got stronger. Kaijin didn't waste movements. Every step had purpose. Every slash was lethal. Within 2 minutes, all 30 wolves were dead. He flicked the blood off his dagger and sheathed it. The Class F students erupted in cheers. They were jumping around celebrating. Rin ran up asking if he was hurt, but he just smiled and said he was fine. Then everyone heard screaming in the distance. Different screaming. The kind that came from people who thought they were about to die. Kaijin activated his mythic eye and looked through the red fog toward where Class S had set up camp. What he saw made him grin. Draco and his team were cornered against a cliff face. And stalking toward them was something way worse than illusion wolves. A mutant wolf king. This thing was massive. 15 feet tall at the shoulder. Its fur was midnight black with streaks of lightning running through it. Its eyes glowed electric blue. The monster was level 40, which meant it could slaughter everyone in Class S without breaking a sweat. Draco was in the front trying to shield his teammates. His expensive armor was already cracked. His face was bleeding. 2 of his crew were unconscious on the ground. The Wolf King roared and the sound shook the entire valley. Kaijin told the Class F students to stay at camp. Then he grabbed his camera and started running toward the Class S position. Rin called after him asking what he was doing. He shouted back that he was going to film some premium content. When he got close enough to see clearly, Kaijin didn't jump in to help. Instead, he climbed up on a large boulder that gave him a perfect view of the action and set up his camera. The stream title updated automatically. Titled Young Master Gets Destroyed. Should I help? Draco saw him. Even through the pain and fear, Draco's eyes went wide with rage. He shouted for Kaijin to help them. This wasn't funny. People were going to die. Kaijin adjusted the camera angle and told him to hold on. He was getting the lighting right for the shot. The Wolf King swiped at Draco. The young master barely blocked with a fire shield, but the impact sent him flying into the cliff wall. He coughed blood. The stream chat was going crazy. A notification appeared showing that random viewers were spamming comments. Some said save them. Others said let them suffer. Most were just spamming emotes. Kaijin addressed the camera directly. He said he was taking donations. If the stream could raise 10,000 hype points in the next minute, he'd save Draco and his crew. Otherwise, he'd just keep filming. Draco screamed that Kaijin was insane. But the donations started immediately. A window popped up showing Thor had donated 2,000 points, saying even rivals deserve honorable deaths in combat. Loki donated 1,000, saying he wanted to see Kaijin steal the kill. Aphrodite donated 3,000 because she didn't want to watch attractive young men get eaten. Random viewers donated the rest. The counter hit 10,000 in 40 seconds. Kaijin smiled and said the people have spoken. He jumped down from his viewing rock. The Wolf King had Draco pinned under one massive paw. Its jaws were opening to bite his head off. Draco was desperately gathering mana for one last attack. His hands glowed orange and red. Fire magic condensed around him. This was his ultimate technique. The skill that made him famous in the original timeline. Hellfire Pillar. It was an A-rank fire spell that called down a column of flames hot enough to melt steel. Draco had spent years learning it from his father's private tutors. It was his trump card. The magic circle formed above the Wolf King. The air temperature spiked. And that's when Kaijin activated his mythic eyes copy function. A scanning interface appeared showing Draco's skill. Hellfire Pillar rank A. Cost to copy, 3,000 hype points. Kaijin spent the points without hesitation. The magic circle above the Wolf King flickered. Draco looked confused. His spell was fizzling out. The mana was draining away like someone had pulled a plug. Because someone had. Kaijin had literally stolen the spell midcast. A notification confirmed the skill was now in his arsenal. But it wasn't just a copy. The mythic I had analyzed and optimized it. Combined with Kaijin's higher strength stat, the spell would be significantly more powerful than Draco's version. Draco's ultimate attack dissolved into nothing. He stared at his hands in horror. His trump card had just vanished. The Wolf King roared in triumph and raised its paw to crush him. Kaijin raised his hand toward the sky. He cast Hellfire Pillar. The magic circle that formed was 3 times larger than Draco's had been. It burned so bright everyone had to shield their eyes. The Wolf King looked up and for the first time showed fear. The pillar of flame descended like the wrath of an angry god. It hit the Wolf King dead center and the monster didn't even have time to scream. It was incinerated instantly, turned to ash. The flame was so hot it melted the rocks around the impact zone into glass. When the light faded, there was just a smoking crater and a pile of loot where the Wolf King had been. Complete silence. Draco was staring at Kaijin like he'd seen a ghost. His mouth was opening and closing but no sound came out. The stream absolutely exploded. A notification window appeared showing that Odin had donated 10,000 hype points. The message said he stole the rival's ultimate technique and used it better. This is peak entertainment. Thor donated 8,000 points, calling it the most disrespectful combat move he'd ever witnessed. Loki donated 12,000 points and the message was just laughing emojis. The viewer count hit 300,000. The donations were coming in so fast Kaijin couldn't even read them all. He walked over to where Draco was still pinned under rubble and offered a hand to help him up. Draco just stared at the hand. Kaijin said that was a nice spell Draco had there. Real shame it didn't work. Good thing Kaijin had a working version to save everyone. Draco's face went through about 17 different emotions. Shock, rage, humiliation, disbelief, more rage. He slapped Kaijin's hand away and stood up on his own. He demanded to know what Kaijin did. How he stole the spell. That was his family's technique. Proprietary magic. Kaijin just shrugged and said maybe Draco should have cast it faster. The other Class S students were picking themselves up. They looked at Kaijin with a mix of gratitude and fear. He just saved their lives but also utterly humiliated their leader. One of them quietly said thank you. Kaijin told them they were welcome and that this rescue would cost them. He pointed at their supply packs. He wanted half their rations and all their premium healing potions as payment. Draco said absolutely not. They didn't owe Kaijin anything. Kaijin turned to leave and said okay. Then the next time a boss monster showed up they were on their own. Good luck with that. Draco's crew immediately started pulling out supplies and offering them to Kaijin. They weren't stupid. Without him they'd be dead. Draco looked betrayed but couldn't argue. He was still trying to figure out how his spell got stolen. Kaijin collected the payment and also grabbed the loot from the Wolf King. A legendary item had dropped. Lightning Fong necklace that boosted speed and gave a chain lightning skill. He equipped it immediately. Then he looked at Draco and said one more thing. He told Draco that their bet was still on. Whoever had the lowest score at the end of training had to withdraw from the academy. And based on tonight's performance, Draco should start packing his bags. Draco's face went bright red. He looked like he wanted to attack, but his teammates held him back. Kaijin just waved and walked back toward the Class F camp. A notification appeared showing the current score rankings. Kaijin was first place by a massive margin. His wolf kills plus the boss kill had put him so far ahead it wasn't even close. Draco had dropped to 7th place. The stream chat was spamming messages about how this was the greatest comeback story ever. When Kaijin got back to camp, the Class F students treated him like a hero. They'd watched the whole thing. Some had recorded it on their phones. Rin healed the minor scratches he'd gotten and said she couldn't believe he stole Draco's spell. Kaijin just smiled and said that was the beauty of the mythic eye. Why learn skills the hard way when you could just copy them from talented people? He checked his total hype points. After all the donations and quest rewards, he was sitting on over 50,000 points. Enough to unlock some serious upgrades. But he was also exhausted. Fighting 2 boss monsters in one night was rough even with cheat abilities. He told everyone to set up watch rotations and get some sleep. Tomorrow they'd farm more points and secure the victory. As Kaijin laid down in his luxury tent, a final notification appeared. A quest update showing that he'd completed multiple hidden objectives. The rewards would be distributed after the training ended. And one more message from Odin. The Allfather had sent a private donation of 20,000 hype points with a message that said Kaijin was now his favorite mortal to watch. That the way he humiliated his rival while saving him was the perfect balance of mercy and cruelty. Kaijin fell asleep smiling. 3 miles away, Draco was awake in his tent, punching the ground in frustration. The survival training ended with Kaijin dominating the scoreboard. First place by over 3,000 points. Draco didn't even make top 5. The bet was settled. By the rules, Draco should have withdrawn from the academy. But of course the young master had his father pull strings. Suddenly the bet was declared unofficial and non-binding. Draco got to stay. Kaijin didn't care. He'd humiliated the guy in front of hundreds of thousands of viewers. That was worth more than forcing him out. The Class F students returned to campus as heroes. For the first time in academy history, the trash class had outperformed everyone. People were talking about it, recording the Class F bus when it pulled in, asking for autographs. But Director Viper wasn't celebrating. Kaijin could see it in the way the snake-eyed administrator watched him during the award ceremony. Pure hatred barely concealed behind a professional smile. The director handed out medals to the top performers, but when he gave Kaijin his, he squeezed the handshake a bit too hard. He whispered so quietly only Kaijin could hear. He said that talented students who got too arrogant sometimes had tragic accidents. Kaijin just smiled and whispered back that corrupt directors who threatened students sometimes got exposed and arrested. Viper's eye twitched. 3 days later, Kaijin was walking back to the dorms after late-night training. The campus was mostly empty. Street lights flickered. His footsteps echoed off the buildings. He was texting Rin about tomorrow's dungeon plans when he felt it. Killing intent. Thick and suffocating. The air pressure changed. Kaijin's instincts screamed danger. He dove to the side just as black chains erupted from the shadows where he'd been standing. The chains were made of condensed dark mana and had barbed hooks that could rip flesh from bone. Kaijin rolled and came up with his shadow dagger drawn. Director Viper stepped out from behind a building. But he looked different. His professional demeanor was gone. His snake eyes were glowing red. Dark energy leaked from his body like smoke. This was his real power unleashed. A scanning notification appeared showing Viper's stats. Level 50. Former S-rank hunter turned demon cultist. Abilities included shadow manipulation, poison magic, and demon contract enhancement. Kaijin was level 20. The gap was enormous. Viper smiled, showing too many teeth. He said that Kaijin had been a problem since day one. Too talented. Too observant. Too likely to discover things that should stay hidden. He revealed that he'd been working with the demon cult for years, funneling promising students into traps, selling information about humanity's defenses, getting rich while the world burned. And Kaijin knew too much, had attracted too much attention, so he had to die. The shadow chains attacked from 6 directions simultaneously. Kaijin dodged 3, blocked 2 with his dagger, but the 6th one caught his leg and yanked him off his feet. He hit the ground hard. Before he could recover, more chains wrapped around his arms and chest. The barbs dug into his skin. Blood started flowing. Viper walked over casually. He said this was disappointing. He'd expected more from the student everyone was talking about. But in the end, Kaijin was just another corpse waiting to happen. He raised his hand and poison energy gathered in his palm. One touch would melt Kaijin's internal organs. Then Rin's voice shouted for him to stop. She'd been following Kaijin at a distance because she was worried about him walking alone at night. Now she ran out from behind a tree with her healing staff glowing. Viper turned toward her annoyed. He said he didn't have time for witnesses. He flicked his wrist and a shadow spike shot toward Rin's heart. Kaijin screamed her name. The spike hit Rin in the shoulder and she went down hard. Blood pooled under her. She wasn't moving. Something inside Kaijin broke. The rational part of his brain that calculated odds and made strategic decisions just shut off. All that was left was pure rage. The mythic camera in his pocket started vibrating, then glowing, then burning with heat so intense it should have melted his clothes. A notification appeared in his vision, but it was different from the usual ones. The text was gold and crimson and seemed to pulse with divine energy. Critical moment detected. Emotional threshold exceeded. The eye of the Watcher God is evolving. New feature unlocked. Divine possession. For limited duration the user may channel the essence of a watching deity. The God chat exploded with activity. A golden window appeared showing that Thor had donated 50,000 hype points. The message said, "Let me through. This snake needs to face the storm." More windows popped up in rapid succession. Odin donated 30,000 offering his wisdom. Tyr donated 20,000 offering his courage in battle. Loki offered chaos. But Thor's donation was the highest. The system accepted his offer. Kaijin's body started changing. Blue lightning crackled across his skin. His eyes turned electric white. His muscles bulged with divine power. When he breathed out it came as thunder. The shadow chains binding him shattered like glass. Viper stepped back looking shocked. He demanded to know what this was. What kind of trick? Kaijin stood up. His voice came out doubled. His own voice layered with something ancient and powerful that spoke with the force of storms. He said that Viper had made a mistake. You don't hurt what belongs to Thor's favorite warrior. The possession would only last 10 seconds according to the notification. Kaijin had to make them count. He looked around for a weapon. His shadow dagger wasn't enough for what he wanted to do. His eyes landed on a brick that had fallen from a nearby wall during construction. He picked it up. The moment his lightning-charged hand touched it, the brick transformed. Blue electricity wrapped around it. Runes appeared on its surface. It was just a regular brick, but infused with the power of the thunder god it became something else entirely. Viper realized the danger and attacked with everything. Shadow chains by the dozens. Poison spears. Demon magic that twisted reality. Kaijin walked through all of it. The chains hit him and dissolved against his lightning aura. The poison couldn't touch him. The demon magic bounced off like rain on stone. He covered the distance between them in 2 steps. Viper tried to run, but Kaijin grabbed him by the face with his free hand. Lightning coursed through the director's body, making him scream. Then Kaijin raised the brick. He brought it down on Viper's head. The impact sounded like a thunderclap. Viper's skull cracked. Blood and lightning mixed together. Kaijin hit him again, and again, and again. He beat Viper with that brick until the director stopped moving. Until the demon energy leaked out of him. Until all that was left was a broken, corrupt official who would never hurt another student. The 10 seconds ended. The lightning faded. Thor's presence left Kaijin's body and he collapsed to his knees gasping. A notification appeared showing the fight results. Director Viper defeated. Level gained. Multiple level gains. Kaijin jumped from level 20 to level 30 in one fight. But he didn't care about that. He crawled over to where Rin was lying in blood. She was still breathing but barely. The shadow spike had missed her heart by inches, but she was losing blood fast. Kaijin pulled out every healing potion he owned and poured them over the wound. He wrapped it with torn fabric from his shirt. He begged her to hold on. Her eyes fluttered open. She tried to smile and said she knew he'd save her, that she wasn't worried. Then she passed out. Kaijin picked her up and ran toward the medical building screaming for help. Students poured out of dorms. Teachers came running. Someone saw Viper's body and called security. The campus descended into chaos. The academy principal arrived 20 minutes later. She was an elderly woman named Professor Ironwood who'd been a legendary hunter in her youth. She took one look at the scene and immediately understood what happened. Viper's body still leaked demon energy. The evidence of his corruption was obvious now. Shadow magic, forbidden contracts, items marked with demon cult symbols found in his pockets. She ordered a full investigation. By morning the truth came out. Viper had been selling student information to demons for 5 years. At least 30 students had died in dungeons that he'd sabotaged. He'd taken bribes from corrupt guilds, falsified records, everything Kaijin had suspected and more. The principal visited Kaijin in the medical wing where he'd been waiting for news about Rin. She apologized, said the academy had failed to protect its students, that Kaijin had done what the faculty should have done years ago. Then she made an announcement that would change everything. Kaijin was being promoted to rank 1 student, the highest honor the academy gave. He'd get access to all facilities, private training rooms, the advanced dungeon, a monthly stipend of 10 million won, And as compensation for the attack he'd receive a one-time payment of 100 million won. Kaijin barely heard any of it. He just asked if Rin would be okay. The principal smiled and said the healers confirmed she'd make a full recovery. The potions he'd used saved her life. Relief flooded through him. A notification appeared from the god chat. Multiple deities had sent messages. Thor donated 100,000 hype points saying that was the most worthy use of divine possession he'd ever witnessed. That Kaijin had earned Thor's permanent favor. Odin donated 75,000 saying Kaijin's rage was righteous and his victory was deserved. Even Loki donated 50,000 with a message saying the brick kill was legendary. That footage would be talked about for centuries. The public hunter network had exploded too. Someone had recorded the fight from a dorm window. The video of Kaijin beating a level 50 demon cultist with a lightning brick had gone viral. 20 million views in 6 hours. Kaijin was famous. Not Academy famous. Actually famous. His stream subscriber count had hit 500,000. Guilds were sending recruitment offers. Companies wanted sponsorship deals. But all Kaijin cared about was that Rin was safe. He fell asleep in the chair next to her hospital bed. When he woke up, she was awake too, looking at him with those soft eyes. She said he didn't have to stay. He probably had important things to do. Kaijin just grabbed her hand and said nothing was more important than making sure his party members were safe. She started crying. Happy tears this time. A nurse came in and shooed Kaijin out saying the patient needed rest. As he walked through the hospital halls, students pointed and whispered. Some asked for autographs. Others just stared in awe. Kaijin checked his phone and saw hundreds of messages. Interview requests. Guild offers. Fan mail. He ignored all of it except one message. It was from an unknown number. The text just said, I know what you're planning. I can help. Meet me at the old cathedral tonight if you want to expose them all. Kaijin stared at the message. Someone knew. Someone else was investigating the corruption. This could be a trap. Or it could be exactly what he needed. He sent back a single word. The money from the academy settlement hit Kaijin's account the next morning. 100 million won sitting there looking beautiful. Most students would have saved it or invested carefully. Kaijin immediately spent half of it on real estate. The building he bought was in the warehouse district of Neo-Seoul. 5 stories tall, covered in graffiti, windows broken, rumored to be haunted by the ghosts of hunters who died during the first gate outbreak 20 years ago. It was perfect. The real estate agent tried to talk him out of it. Said the building needed serious renovation. That the neighborhood was dangerous. That 3 previous owners had abandoned it. Kaijin signed the papers anyway. When he walked into the lobby for the first time, rats scattered. The floor was cracked. Water damage had destroyed half the ceiling. Mold grew on every surface. Rin, who had insisted on coming despite still recovering from her injuries, took one look and said they made a huge mistake. But Kaijin just activated his camera and started a new stream titled, Renovating My Future Guild Hall Speedrun Any %. The god chat appeared immediately. A notification window showed that Hephaestus, the god of blacksmiths and construction, had joined the stream. The message said this building has good bones. With the right materials, it could be legendary. Then Hephaestus donated 50,000 hype points with instructions to open the system shop construction menu. Kaijin had no idea that existed, but sure enough, there it was. An entire catalog of instant construction options. Foundation repair, wall restoration, electrical systems, plumbing, furniture, everything. But it was expensive. Each upgrade cost thousands of hype points. More donations started rolling in. Thor donated 20,000 saying every warrior needs a proper hall. Freya donated 30,000 because she wanted to see the finished aesthetic. Loki donated 15,000 just to see if the ghosts were real. Random viewers who'd been following Kaijin's journey donated whatever they could. The hype points piled up fast. Kaijin started spending them. He repaired the foundation first. The building glowed with golden light and the cracks sealed themselves. Then the walls. The mold vanished and fresh paint appeared. The windows fixed themselves with new reinforced glass. Within an hour, the building went from condemned property to something that looked almost modern. Hephaestus kept donating and giving advice. He suggested adding a forge in the basement, training rooms on the 3rd floor, a streaming studio on the top floor with the best equipment. Kaijin built it all. By sunset, the building was transformed. It looked professional, powerful, the kind of place that announced a serious guild operated there. Kaijin stood in the main hall and activated the guild registration system. He named it Mythic. The guild crest appeared automatically. A stylized eye with purple lightning radiating from it. A notification confirmed the guild was official. He was now a guild master. Rin was appointed as the first official member, vice guild master and head of support division. She blushed and said she didn't deserve such a high position. Kaijin told her she'd saved his life multiple times. She deserved everything. They were planning the grand opening celebration when every alarm in the building went off simultaneously. A district-wide emergency broadcast blared from the speakers. Dungeon break detected. All hunters report for emergency defense. Civilians evacuate immediately. Kaijin ran to the window and his heart sank. A massive red gate had opened right outside his building, like directly in front of the main entrance. And monsters were already pouring out. Ghouls. Hundreds of them. The undead type that were fast, vicious, and hunted in swarms. They were only level 15 individually, but in groups of hundreds they could overwhelm even high-rank hunters. This wasn't a coincidence. Kaijin activated his mythic eye and scanned the area. He found it immediately. A dungeon lure hidden on a nearby rooftop. An illegal device that attracted gates to specific locations. Someone had deliberately caused a dungeon break at his guild hall. And he knew exactly who. Lady Venom. She'd promised he'd regret rejecting her offer. This was her revenge. Destroy his guild before it even opened. The ghouls smashed into the front door. The new reinforced glass held, but it was cracking under the assault. Rin started to panic, asking what they should do. They were only 2 people. They couldn't fight hundreds of monsters. Kaijin pulled out his camera and smiled. He told her they weren't fighting alone. They had viewers. He activated the stream. The title appeared. Defending my new house from Karens who can't take no for an answer. The viewer count exploded. People loved watching dungeon break defenses. It was like live-action survival horror. Within seconds, 50,000 viewers joined. Then 100,000. Then 200,000. The gods were there too. A notification appeared showing Ares had donated 40,000 hype points. The message said this is what he lived for. Battle against overwhelming odds. Thor donated 35,000 saying defend your hall with honor. The shadow dagger at Kaijin's belt pulsed with power. With 200,000 viewers, the damage bonus was insane. The front door exploded inward. Ghouls poured into the lobby shrieking and clawing. Kaijin drew his dagger and activated Berserk Rage. His eyes turned bloodshot. Power flooded his muscles. He became a whirlwind of death. The first wave of ghouls died in seconds. Kaijin moved through them like a dancer. Every slash killed. The shadow dagger absorbed their essence, making it stronger with each kill. Rin stayed behind him, casting healing buffs and protective barriers. Her support magic kept him topped off. But more ghouls kept coming. They climbed through windows, broke down walls. The building was getting swarmed. Kaijin fell back to the staircase and used Hellfire Pillar. The massive column of flame incinerated 50 ghouls at once. But 100 more took their place. He was burning through mana fast. Even with Rin's support, he couldn't keep this up forever. The stream chat was going crazy with suggestions. Viewers were shouting strategies. The gods were arguing about the best approach. Then a new notification appeared. A mysterious viewer had donated 100,000 hype points. No message, just points. Before Kaijin could process that, the front door exploded again. But this time it wasn't more ghouls. A woman walked in surrounded by dead ghoul bodies. She was tall with long white hair tied in a ponytail. She wore all black tactical gear and had 2 curved daggers that dripped with poison. Her eyes were cold silver. A scanning notification identified her as Phantom, real name classified. S-class assassin. Level 60. Specialization. Poison and stealth. She looked at Kaijin and said she'd been watching his streams. That she hated Lady Venom too. That corrupt guild masters like Venom gave all hunters a bad name. She asked if his guild was hiring. Kaijin was fighting off 3 ghouls and shouted back that they could discuss employment after not dying. Phantom smiled. It was not a nice smile. She vanished. 1 second she was visible. The next she was gone. Only the results of her presence remained. Ghouls started dropping dead with no visible wounds. Poison spread through their ranks. The assassin was moving too fast to see. But Kaijin could see her with his mythic eye. She was incredible. Every movement was efficient. No wasted energy. Pure lethal skill. And he could copy that. He activated the scan function. Phantom's abilities appeared. Ghost Step, Poison Blade, Shadow Meld. All high-rank assassination skills. But copying them would cost too much. He needed a different approach. Then he remembered. Rin had a support buff skill called Amplify that doubled an ally's primary stat for 1 minute. He'd scanned it weeks ago for 50 hype points. He cast it on Phantom. A golden aura surrounded the assassin. Her already insane agility stat doubled. She became something beyond human. The ghouls didn't stand a chance. Phantom moved through them like a ghost. Her daggers were blurs. Poison clouds formed wherever she passed. Ghouls melted. Within 3 minutes she'd killed over 200 of them. Kaijin focused on the ones getting past her. Hellfire Pillar for groups. Shadow Dagger for stragglers. Between the 2 of them they created a killing field. The stream chat was losing it. A notification showed Loki had donated 60,000 points. The message said the assassin joining was the best plot twist of the season. Aphrodite donated 50,000 saying the teamwork was beautiful to watch. New viewers kept joining. The count hit 400,000. The Shadow Dagger's power kept scaling. The last ghoul fell 30 minutes after the attack started. Kaijin and Phantom stood in a lobby covered in monster corpses and dissolved ghoul remains. Rin ran up and started healing both of them. She was exhausted from casting support magic for so long, but she pushed through. Phantom sheathed her daggers and asked if the job offer was still open. Kaijin said if she was serious about hating Lady Venom, then yes. Mythic Guild's entire purpose was taking down corrupt powers. Phantom extended a hand. They shook on it. A notification confirmed Phantom had joined the guild. Member count 3. The emergency services finally arrived, but there was nothing left for them to do. The dungeon break was already handled. A Hunter Association inspector walked in, saw the carnage, and just stared. Kaijin told him to check the rooftop. He'd find the dungeon lure that caused this. The inspector scrambled to investigate. 20 minutes later, he confirmed it. Someone had deliberately caused this attack. This was attempted murder and property destruction. Kaijin activated his camera one more time and addressed the stream directly. He said he had a message for Lady Venom. He looked straight into the lens with his purple mythic eye glowing. He told her that her little attack failed. That Mythic Guild was open for business. That he knew she was behind this and he had proof. And next time they met, he wouldn't be defending. He'd be attacking. He was coming for her main guild hall. For her reputation. For everything she built on the backs of exploited hunters. The countdown had started. The stream ended with that threat hanging in the air. The clip went mega viral. 5 million views in the first hour. 10 million by morning. Lady Venom's public image took a massive hit. People started questioning her guild's practices. Former members came forward with abuse stories. The Hunter Association opened an investigation. Kaijin's guild applications flooded in. Hundreds of hunters wanted to join. Most were low rank, but some were talented individuals who'd been screwed over by the major guilds. Kaijin, Rin, and Phantom spent the next week interviewing candidates. They selected 20 members. A mix of combat specialists, supports, and crafters. People who believed in the mission and weren't just chasing fame. Mythic Guild was real now. But Kaijin knew Lady Venom wouldn't take the humiliation lying down. She had resources, connections, power. The war had just begun. And somewhere in the city Lionheart, the fake hero was watching Kaijin's rise with interest. The timeline was changing. Events that should have happened years from now were accelerating. The pieces were moving into position for something big. The Academy Graduation Festival was the biggest event of the year. Even though Kaijin was still a first year, he'd been invited as a special guest because of his fame. The entire campus was decorated with lights and banners. Food stalls lined the pathways. Students and their families celebrated together. Kaijin stood at a booth signing autographs. The line stretched around 3 buildings. People wanted photos with the hunter who beat a demon cultist with a brick. Who started his own guild as a first year. Who streamed his life to literal gods. Rin was helping manage the crowd. Phantom stood nearby in the shadows keeping watch. The rest of Mythic Guild's members were scattered around the festival enjoying themselves. Everything was perfect. Then the sky turned red. Not sunset red. Blood red. Like someone had painted the entire atmosphere with fresh wounds. The festival music cut out. People stopped talking and looked up. A massive gate was opening directly above the academy. But this wasn't a normal gate. It was enormous. A mile wide. Reality itself was tearing open and something was coming through. Emergency alarms started blaring. Professors rushed to evacuate students. The principal activated the academy's defensive barriers. But everyone could feel it. Whatever was coming through that gate was beyond anything they could handle. A figure descended from the red sky. It was humanoid but wrong. 12 feet tall with skin like molten rock. 6 arms, each holding a different weapon that dripped with black fire. Its face had too many eyes, and when it spoke the words came out in multiple languages simultaneously. A scanning notification appeared and Kaijin's blood went cold. Demon General Azeroth. Level 80. Commander of the 7th Circle. Authority over fire and despair. The strongest professors in the academy were level 50 at most. This thing outclassed them by 30 levels. The Demon General landed in the center of the festival grounds. The impact created a crater. Students screamed and ran. The defensive barriers shattered like glass. Professor Ironwood, the principal, stepped forward. She was an A-rank hunter in her prime. Legendary for taking down a dragon solo 40 years ago. She demanded the demon leave immediately. This was protected ground. The Hunter Association would respond with overwhelming force. Azeroth laughed. The sound made people's ears bleed. He said the Hunter Association couldn't help. His master had arranged for them to be busy dealing with coordinated gate outbreaks across the entire country. This academy was isolated and doomed. He raised one hand and black flames gathered in his palm. Professor Ironwood cast her strongest defensive spell. Walls of crystallized mana formed around her. Azeroth flicked his wrist. The flames dissolved the barriers and hit the principal directly. She screamed once and then collapsed. Her HP bar went from full to 0 in an instant. Dead. The strongest person in the academy killed like she was nothing. Students were crying. Professors were backing away. Nobody could fight this thing. Azeroth's multiple eyes scanned the crowd. Then they locked onto Kaijin. The demon spoke directly to him. It said that its master, the Demon King, had become aware of a disturbance in fate. Someone who shouldn't exist. Someone who possessed an artifact that threatened their plans. The Eye of the Watcher God. Azeroth demanded Kaijin hand over the camera or everyone in the academy would die screaming. The crowd parted, leaving Kaijin standing alone. Hundreds of terrified eyes turned toward him. Rin grabbed his arm, begging him not to do this. They could run, hide, find help. But Kaijin knew there was nowhere to run. This demon would slaughter everyone looking for him. He activated his camera. The stream started automatically. The title appeared, Final Boss Fight, Do or Die. The viewer count exploded faster than ever before. 500,000, 1 million, 2 million. People were sharing the stream link everywhere. News outlets were broadcasting it. The entire world was watching. And the gods came. Every deity that had ever watched Kaijin's stream joined simultaneously. Odin, Thor, Loki, Freya, Tyr, Ares, Aphrodite, Hephaestus, dozens more. The divine viewer count hit 47 gods. A notification appeared showing his total accumulated hype points. 1,053,000. He'd been saving them for months, building a war chest for emergencies. This qualified. Kaijin opened the system shop and scrolled to the mythic items section. Items so expensive and powerful they could only be used once. There, at the bottom, priced at exactly 1 million hype points, was something impossible. Mjolnir's Fragment, a shard of the god of thunder's legendary hammer. Grants the user one strike with the full power of Thor himself. Warning. Using this item will leave the wielder in critical condition. Use only in life or death situations. Kaijin didn't hesitate. He spent every point he had. The item materialized in his hand. It was a crystal that pulsed with blue lightning. The moment he touched it, thunder rolled across the red sky. Azeroth sensed the divine energy and his expression changed. The confidence disappeared, replaced by something like fear. The demon said that was impossible. A mortal couldn't wield divine power. The gods had abandoned this world. Kaijin crushed the crystal in his fist. Lightning exploded outward. Blue electricity wrapped around his entire body. His eyes turned pure white. His hair stood up crackling with power. And in his hand a spectral hammer formed. It was massive. The handle was 6 feet long. The head was carved from solidified thunder and inscribed with runes that predated human language. It was beautiful and terrifying. The god chat went completely insane. A notification appeared from Thor donating 500,000 hype points. The message was just, "That is my boy. Show them the storm." Odin donated 300,000. He wields the power of Asgard. This mortal has earned our blessing. Every single god watching donated everything they could. The chat moved so fast the system UI couldn't keep up. It started glitching with overlapping messages and notifications. The public stream hit 10 million viewers, 20 million, 30 million. Half the world was watching this moment. Azeroth realized he'd made a mistake. He launched every attack he had. Black flames, demon magic, reality warping abilities. Kaijin raised the spectral hammer. He didn't dodge the attacks, didn't block them, just walked forward through the flames and magic like they were rain. The divine power protected him, made him untouchable. Azeroth tried to flee back through the gate, but Kaijin moved faster. The power of Thor made him as fast as lightning itself. He appeared in front of the demon, blocking his escape. Azeroth begged, offered deals, promised power and riches, said his master would negotiate. Kaijin said he had a message for the Demon King. He raised Mjolnir's fragment above his head. The hammer grew and grew. It became 50 feet long, 100 feet. The head of the hammer was the size of a building. Lightning gathered in the clouds above. Real lightning called by the divine weapon. The red sky turned blue and white. Every hunter watching knew what was coming. Every student covered their eyes. The camera's recording couldn't handle the light and started burning out. Kaijin brought the hammer down. The impact was beyond description. It wasn't just force. It was divine judgment. The hammer strike hit Azeroth dead center, and the demon didn't just die. He was erased, deleted from existence. Not even ashes remained. The shockwave expanded outward. The academy grounds cratered. Buildings shook. Windows shattered across the entire district. The gate in the sky cracked like glass and imploded. The red color drained away, leaving normal blue sky. Then the hammer dissolved. The divine power left Kaijin's body all at once. He collapsed. Every muscle felt like it was on fire. His HP bar was at 2%. Blood ran from his nose and ears. Using that much power had nearly killed him. But he was alive. And the demon was gone. Rin and Phantom rushed to his side. Rin immediately started healing, but she was crying. She said he was an idiot. That he almost died. That she couldn't lose him. Kaijin tried to smile, but his face muscles weren't working right. He managed to whisper that he was okay. The surviving professors and students started emerging from cover. They stared at the massive crater where Azeroth had been. A Kaijin lying broken in the center. Someone started clapping. Then another person. Then everyone. The entire academy erupted in cheers. Students were crying and celebrating. They'd survived. Against impossible odds, they'd lived. The stream chat was moving too fast to read. Donations poured in. The viewer count hit 50 million. But Kaijin couldn't focus on any of that. A new notification appeared in his vision. Different from the others. Gold text with a red border. Tutorial complete. Congratulations, user. You have successfully bonded with the Eye of the Watcher God and proven your worth through combat. The real challenge begins now. Warning. The Demon King has marked you as a priority threat. The Ragnarok outbreak timeline has been accelerated. Gates will increase in frequency and power. Humanity's extinction date has moved forward by 5 years. New quest available. Prevent the apocalypse. Save humanity. Expose the traitors. Reward. Survival. Accept? Yes or no? Kaijin stared at the notification. His broken body. His exhausted mind. Everything hurt. But he'd known this was coming. He'd seen the future. He died once already. He wasn't going to let it happen again. He mentally selected yes. The notification changed. Quest accepted. The war for humanity's survival begins now. Good luck, Hunter. The gods are watching. A final message appeared from Odin. You have become more than entertainment. You have become hope. Whatever comes next, we will stand with you. Fight well, mortal. Make us proud. Kaijin let his head fall back against the ground. He stared up at the blue sky. Somewhere out there, Lionheart was making deals with demons. Lady Venom was plotting revenge. The Demon King was preparing his armies. The apocalypse was coming early because of him. But for the first time since regressing, Kaijin felt ready. He had friends, a guild, divine backing, and millions of people watching who believed in him. The tutorial was over. The real game was just beginning, and he was going to win. Rin helped him sit up. The medical team arrived with stretchers. But before they could load him up, Kaijin grabbed his camera one more time. He looked into the lens. At the 50 million people watching. At the gods in their realm. At everyone who'd followed his journey. He said one sentence. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. And the world has no idea what's coming. The stream ended. But the legend of Kaijin. The hunter who challenged demons. The man who streamed the apocalypse. The warrior blessed by gods. That legend was just getting started.